I think employers, right, law firms, businesses are typically of the mindset that if there is conflict, we need to eliminate the conflict as soon as possible, as quickly as possible. Just, I don't care what the conflict is, stop it, go figure it out. But in your book, you say that having employees challenge each other's ideas, like what you're just talking about, and especially being aware of other people's ideas in the first place, is extremely valuable.
Yeah.
So how can law firm leaders create that environment and sort of like foster a conversation where productive conflict can exist? And what can they do to ensure that that conflict doesn't turn unproductive?
I think that when it comes to trying to encourage conflict, one of the things is to recognize that a lot of people have conflicts for a lot of different reasons. Sometimes conflicts come from personality differences, for example. So really understanding the source of conflict. Is it because we have different working styles? Do we approach our work and communicate differently? I got to tell you, I think more than half of the conflicts, like genuine conflicts in the workplace. And by conflict, I mean something that makes people frustrated. Not just like I disagree. Oh, we talk about it and then we find a new way to do it. That's not really a conflict. That's just a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about real, emotionally invested conflicts. Half the time they are personality driven. So one of the things I encourage teams to do is talk about personality differences. We actually will use I don't care which one, use any personality test you want. Myers-Briggs, Hogan, social styles, whatever you want, but actually talk about your differences. That's something I do on my teams to encourage just getting to know each other a little better. But okay, let's say we go past that. We say, okay, fine, personality styles are great, but now we've really got this disagreement. How do we get through it? As a manager, it's really important that you are there as a part of that conversation, but encouraging two people to talk together. So I had this happen in a meeting last week. I watched two partners get into a conflict about how they would approach a particular associate who's underperforming. I'm listening to the conversation, they're going back and forth, and you can tell they're getting a little tense. They're starting to actually attack each other a little bit. You can tell there's probably 20 years of baggage going into this conversation. And it's a small thing, but one of the things I did, I jump in and I say, hey, I just want to say this is a great conversation. Really important that we recognize there are different ways of doing things. One is not bad and good, but we need to try to find out what the best practice is in the situation. So what I'm hearing is, and I kind of restate the conflict a little in more neutral terms without judgment. And then I can encourage them, okay, so given that, what do you all think? Which one do you think? So I'm not taking over, but I'm facilitating, number one. And I'm adding some positive, it sounds kind of silly, but some positive energy on top of the negative frustration. Say, oh, this is a good thing. You all are really engaged. How great to see that. It tends to get people to calm down a little bit. They kind of step outside their shoes. They realize what's happening and they calm down and they re-engage productively. That's a small thing, but in the book, I've got a million things you can do. So in fact, I teach negotiations at UVA Law School. I mean, a course on negotiation has so much to offer on conflict resolution. There are so many practical tactics in the book and in any negotiation book, frankly, about how you deal with conflicts that can make sure your teams stay on track.